Thank you for attending. Sheriff Demings has recently arrived from visiting with Deputy Scott Pine's family and a number of other deputies present, some of which were with Scott early this morning during this tragedy. He has received the latest details of the investigation and wants to advise our community and residents of where we stand and our continuing efforts in regards to our loss. Sheriff Demings.
Good evening, and thank you all for being here. It is with heavy heart and a tremendous sadness that I stand before you to speak about the untimely death of one of our heroes, Deputy Jonathan Scott Pine. It wasn't that long ago I stood here in this very room and swore Scott in as a deputy sheriff with this agency. Deputy Scott Pine was shot and killed in the line of duty serving our community. Scott has served with honor since May 2011 and is survived by his loving wife and 3 young children, along with other family members who are traveling here to lend support to this family. I had the opportunity to meet just a few hours ago with Scott's wife, Bridget. I had the opportunity to look at his small children playing there at home. You might ask yourselves, who is Scott Pine? I'll share just a little bit with you. Scott is 34 years old, the same age as my twin sons. He was born in Shreveport, Louisiana. He's a graduate of Louisiana Tech University with a degree in marketing in May of 2001. He also has a Master's of Business Administration from Louisiana Tech, August of 2002. He was sworn in to be a deputy sheriff in this agency on May 23rd, 2011. Just a little bit about Scott. A family man who had many friends, but was also a great deputy sheriff. It was only just several hours before this tragic shooting erupted when we, members of my media team here, talked with many of you about the escalating vehicle burglary problem in the area of the shooting incident. Deputy Pine was also aware of these crimes affecting the west side of Orange County, and he patrolled and wanted to help bring to an end the crime spree. In other words, he wanted to make a difference in this community. For the past 19 hours, my staff members have been working tirelessly to understand and investigate this senseless crime. We know much of what occurred because of the evidence from the scene, including a video link from our helicopter. That evidence is part of an ongoing homicide investigation. It shows Deputy Pine chasing a fleeing subject, ultimately being shot, and then it shows life slipping away from him. At this time, we don't plan to release the video to the media or to the public. Again, it is part of the evidence in an ongoing criminal investigation. As Scott responded to the area, he encountered a suspect that matched the description of a vehicle burglary suspect who had been in the area, seen in the area earlier, the area of Courtley Park. In this encounter, Deputy Pine stopped and momentarily detained Holterman, who fled on foot from Deputy Pine and began chasing him. Just as Halterman rounded the corner of a house and waited for Deputy Pine to pass him, he fired and struck Deputy Pine 3 times. Deputy Pine was wearing his bullet-resistant vest. 2 of the rounds were stopped by the vest. 1 of the rounds mortally wounded him. As additional units arrived on scene, they started to provide life-saving measures for Scott, and others began to look for Halterman. Halterman was found by a neighbor, Halterman was found at a nearby house, deceased from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. Deputy Pine was transported to Orlando Regional, where he succumbed to his injuries. Also, Erica Pugh, an 18-year-old female who was with Halterman during the initial burglary call, was apprehended in the area. She was interviewed by detectives and subsequently provided information regarding a recent armed robbery in which she was involved in. That armed robbery occurred in the area of Hiawassee and Old Winter Garden Road. She was also charged with several counts of burglary of a conveyance and grand theft. She is currently in custody at the Orange County Jail, where she's being held without bond. When a law enforcement agency loses one of its own to a senseless and unthinkable act, the community, those deputies and police officers who serve in the community, pauses to try and understand the loss. There really is little we can do but honor and pay tribute to the men and women we all too often take for granted, whose lives are taken from them while they serve and protect our community. Early this morning, Scott acted bravely and gave his life, making a difference so that others could sleep safely while he stood guard against the perils of our society. Last night, we lost a hero. But a family grieves the loss of a husband, father, a son, a brother. If you, the residents of this community, want to help this young family, currently donations can be made at any Orlando Federal Credit Union. They should be deposited to the account of Deputy Jonathan Scott Pine Memorial Fund. Again, if you want to help this young family, you can make donations at any of the Orlando Federal Credit Union branches in the name of Deputy Jonathan Scott Pine Memorial Fund. In honor of our fallen hero, black mourning bands will be worn by members who are in uniform, as you see standing behind me. Those mourning bands cover their badges, which are worn over their hearts. We will wear the bands until February 24th as a testament of the sacrifice that Scott gave. Information regarding the arrangements will be forthcoming. We ask that you please keep Deputy Pine's family and friends in your thoughts and prayers during this difficult time. We're sad here at the Orange County Sheriff's Office. But we remain focused on our mission to protect and serve the citizens of Orange County. Our office has created an informational memorial page in honor of Deputy Jonathan Scott Pine at www.ocso.com, which will have updated information on the funeral arrangements as they are finalized. Again, we do thank you for coming this evening, and we're prepared to answer a few questions. Joining me on the stage here, we have Under Sheriff Rivero, who stood in during my stead as I was across country, but I traveled back here quickly today to be with my agency members and the family. We also have other ranking members of the agency, as well as supervisors from our Criminal Investigations Division, again, who have been working around the clock to make sure we know precisely what occurred earlier this morning. Any questions?
Sheriff Dennis, question from me. We too had in the media very saddened by what has occurred. But two things. In terms of Deputy Pine, before he engaged the suspect, did he have backup before he did so, number one? And number two, please clarify for me, did the suspect flee initially and then waited for Deputy Pine to target him directly?
Again, Deputy Pine was out on patrol. He detained a suspicious person in a vehicle, the Erica Pugh that I indicated to you. At one point, he was standing out with the suspect in this case, the male suspect, and I can only surmise that at the point he began to perhaps pat the individual down is when the subject turned to flee. Deputy Pine fled behind him and ultimately was shot. He continued to run, and I believe 78 to 80 feet away he collapsed. So.
Sheriff, do you know much about the interaction with the deputy and the suspect before the suspect took off?
Well, we know from the video that he engaged him, and we couldn't tell from the video what was being said, but suspect clearly stopped. They were engaged in some type of dialogue, and then at some point he began to flee, and the deputy pursued him. He was doing his job, in other words.
Will you place more deputies in the Dr. Phillips area after seeing this?
Well, again, we had an active initiative that was going on as a direct result of some of the crime that was going on, auto burglaries in the area. We had messaging that was out in the area. This, however, wasn't limited to the Dr. Phillips area, but that whole Apopka violent corridor had been the focus of one of many of our proactive initiatives here in the agency.
Sheriff, can you talk about the gun that was used, what kind of gun it was, where it came from, and any potential that was used in any other crimes?
A 9mm handgun was recovered from the area of the subject's body. We believe that is the weapon that was used by the subject to take his own life, but also to take the life of Deputy Pine. It appears that it may be stolen. We're still working through that at this point. Vehicle was stolen that the female was in, and we're looking to determine if there are other crimes that can be attributed to this team of individuals. We do know that they both have been arrested numerous times in the Virginia, Maryland area. The subject, Halterman, had been on some type of probation. There was an active warrant for him at this time. We are communicating with authorities in that area. We had previously arrested the female Erica Pugh on February the 5th for a retail shoplifting charge at Florida Mall. At that time, it appears that she gave false identity. So we're working through all of that now. At the time she was arrested in February, I believe the age she said she was at the time, she gave a different name, age, that would have indicated she was 27. We now know that she is an 18-year-old.
What do you say to the deputies right now? Because they need to go out outside and they need to go to the streets. What is your advice to them after something of this very tragic happens?
Well, again, what I say to our deputies is we do have a job to do. I'm proud of the men and women who serve here because even last night, with all of what happened last night before day this morning, they continued to answer those calls for service and in fact arrested several other individuals in a burglary in progress. So they kept doing their job. They're professionals. We're sad. In many ways our heart is broken, but we're not broken. We're still focused on the task at hand.
Sheriff, you mentioned that the suspect had run-ins in Virginia and Maryland. Do you know why he was in Central Florida or perhaps how long he had been here?
It's really unknown. Based on conversations with family members, my detectives have said that they don't really know why they ended up here, but they clearly have been in the area for a few months.
Do you think he was working with a larger group regarding the vehicle burglaries?
That's still part of the investigation that's ongoing, just who they were connected with. In the days to come, that'll become clearer to us whether or not they were working with others. But we know these two individuals have been together committing multiple burglaries as well as other crimes in the area.
Sheriff, can you imagine why Deputy changed careers to become a deputy? He's been very successful career.
I can only tell you that from talking with his father, he loved being a deputy sheriff. And so whatever that is that draws all of us to this profession is the same thing that drew him. I have to believe it's about the service to other people.
Sheriff, then when was the bill from Q in relation, right, to the suspect when the deputy was engaged in him? Do you know that?
She was a neighborhood over where the shootings occurred, was in Westminster. She was detained, I believe, in Courtleigh Park, which is a neighborhood just north of Westminster.
And is she cooperating with the investigation?
To the extent that she can.
Sheriff, do we know how they gained access into that gated community?
Pardon me?
Do you know how they gained access into that community?
One of the neighborhoods is not gated, the other is gated. And a lot of times with these gated communities, even though they're gated, they follow a resident into the neighborhood through hook or crook. They get into these neighborhoods. So just because you live in a gated community, it's not a panacea for security. Again, he was out on foot. She was in an automobile in another neighborhood.
Can you just talk about what it's like as a leader of this organization when you get that phone call or when you're out on vacation?
Well, getting the phone call that one of my deputies have been injured, shot, or killed is the phone call I never want to get. And unfortunately, I've had to go through that a few times now. It doesn't make it any easier, which is why I'm back here. I cut my plans short to get back here to be with my personnel, because this is the kind of thing that really touches an agency in a lot of different ways that the public cannot see. But as a leader of this organization, I thought it was important that I get back to work here with them as well. So we go on. We still have much work to do in this community to make sure that it is as safe as it possibly can be. So they're all dedicated to doing that. Yes.
You mentioned that he was shot at 3 times. His vest stopped 2 of the bullets. The third fatally wounded him. Where on his body was he fatally wounded?
It is my understanding the bullet may have entered under an armpit and went through his chest cavity, hitting major organs that rendered him in a position where they were not likely survivable. The trauma team at Orlando Regional worked diligently on him, but what I've been told is that even if they had been standing there ready to operate, the likelihood that he would have survived that injury was slim.
Did he ever have a chance to, try and get his gun out of the holster?
No, it doesn't appear that he had time to draw his weapon. All of the shots that were fired by the adversary in this case. So clearly the individual who shot him was intending to shoot him. And all I can say is he apparently took the cowardly way out. We still have to do ballistics and all of that that have to come back, but it appears that the subject took his own life as well. Yes. If there are no other questions, thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Sheriff. Jane has some information. We're going to send it out to you, some photos, if she hasn't already hit the send button, and that'll be